Hey friends, welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. Big shout out to my supporters. I appreciate your help an awful lot. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/CCE, or you can just click the join button down below the video or use the buy me a coffee link. I appreciate all the help. Today we're taking a look at this knife. This is the TS277 by TwoSun Knives. It's a night morning design knife, 14C28N stainless steel, two-tone G10 handle scales, full-size folder, and we got a flipper here, and we've got a little bit of a forward choil. Are you interested? Well, I'll give you all the details, including a teardown, all the specs, and everything you want to know about this knife. I'm going to try to answer all your questions. If you've got more questions at the end of the video, put them down in the comments or leave any other comment at all. Comments really do help, because if you don't leave comments, some people use that as an excuse to think this channel's fake. And so I had a guy report my channel to YouTube. It delayed being able to upload videos for a little while, but of course YouTube investigated and found out that there's absolutely nothing wrong with this channel. I was in no doubt. Anyhow, let's get to the tabletop and take a good look at this knife. By the way, $59.99 US. That's before discount. I got this at White Mountain Knives. Other stores may have it. They're almost always more money, but White Mountain Knives, you can save 10% again with coupon code CCE, and there you go. Then it's what's the price then? Well, let me look at my sheet here. 10% off, $53.99. So 54 US bucks. Is it worth it? Let's find out. Let's begin by doing our size comparison using our Ontario Rat 1, as we usually do, lining up those pivot pins. We've got two knives that are very much the same size. We've both got forward choils, pretty much the same size handle. Of course, we've got more cutting edge on, the TwoSun than we do on the Rat 1, but that's not uncommon at all. Oh, a little bit of dirt there on the blade that I didn't wipe off. Yeah, there's dirt on the knives and stuff because I use them. I do testing on these knives. I know I don't show you, I don't do demonstrations of cutting through a whole bunch of stuff like a lot of guys do on their channels, because if you think about it for a while, don't those all look the same? Every single time they cut through a whole bunch of stuff, it looks the same. Just to me, it's just filling up time with video of something that really doesn't make that much of a difference. I'll tell you the findings that I found with the cutting and everything. First off, let's look at the blade shape though. What we've got is a thumb riser here with jimping on it, and then we've got a drop point here with a long swedge all the way to the tip. We've got a flat grind here, so it's a fairly high flat grind, aka a saber grind. And then we've got a black wash finish. That's like a titanium coating, and then it's gone through a stone wash system. And 14C28N is written right there, and Night Morning Designs logo is right there on the flats. Perfect. I like that. Nice, clean main bevel. On this side, again, a clean main bevel, and they've got TwoSun up here on the flats. This is perfect. I really, really like it when TwoSun does this instead of putting their name up here on the bevel. The steel here is not super thin behind the grind. It's pretty much right at the level of thinness that, I don't like it to get any thicker than. It's like right at 20 thou thick. We've got a forward choil here. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but you can generally safely grab there if you put your finger, partly over on this flat part here instead of just within that round hollow. Then you can hold it safely without getting your finger, the side of your finger, into that cutting edge. I do wish that was just a little bit bigger, but with this thumb riser here in the jimping, you can get a really secure grip this way, and doing some heavy cutting for a while, this handle's very comfortable. It's 3D milled, it's rounded over this way. The edges are all nicely rounded everywhere. It's very comfortable in hand. We've got 3 holes that are 3 different sizes. They've got these orange rings around them. It's an inlay of orange into the G10, and it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. It's a bit unique without being too gaudy. Now, some people are going to find it a bit gaudy, but everybody gets to think what they want, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And We have these liners. They're also black washed, very highly skeletonized liners. We've got 2 pivot pins back here, not pivot pins. We've got 2 body pins back here with an hourglass shape, and a pin here for a lanyard. So really well done. I like that system. You don't have a big hole in the side of your knife. If you want a lanyard, it comes out the back without bunching up. Then on the other side here, we've got the pocket clip. Now it's a right side only pocket clip. There's nothing here to plug it on. It's the traditional budget pocket clip that they have these days. And you know my sort of semi-dislike of it. Not that fond of it, but functionally it works. It works just fine. It's a good pocket clip. T8 screws everywhere, even on the pocket clip. And let's see how well it works. It climbs over, as usual, to the full depth. You just have a little bit sticking out. Yeah. It's a good pocket clip in terms of its functionality. I like it. You know, you've got good springiness to it. It's strong. It's durable. It's just a little bit too big for some knives. For this knife, it fits fairly well. It's an okay pocket clip. Let's take a look at everything that's around the business area. We've got a flipper, and that flipper tab is leaning back a bit. I wish it was either a little bit taller or didn't lean back quite as far, because sometimes my finger slips off of it. You know, when I'm not thinking or paying close enough attention, you know, my finger just sort of slips off instead of grabbing it and deploying the blade. So be aware of that. It's not the greatest flipper tab. The detent on this thing is quite strong. You can hear it getting sucked in and holding it in. So it's good. You shake the knife like this and the blade does not come out, so that's a good thing. Lockup is solid. No blade play side to side, up and down. Lockup is pretty much exactly where I like it to be on a brand new knife. Lock release, yeah, we've got a cutaway here so that the liner lock sticks out. It's got a bit of a chamfer on the side. Very comfortable to get your thumb in there and disengage that lock very easily. So I'm very happy with that. Right or left-handed, it's easy to disengage that lock. So I'm happy with that. Blade alignment, it's pretty much right down the middle there, so that's a good thing. Balance point, it's right there. You know, I do wish it was a tiny bit closer to the pivot pin, but, you know, it's not terrible. So there's that. How well does the knife cut its performance that way? It's actually quite good. The sharpening's not great on it, but the sharpening's done pretty well. You can do some pretty good piercing on it. It's not, you know, really a stabby kind of knife, but it punctures quite well. You can get a good safe grip behind here so that your hand's unlikely to slide over. The cutting and slicing with this high, you know, flat grind, fairly thin edge works quite well. It's a decent blade shape for basically a good, solid ODYSEE knife. Now, what would I change on it? Well, just that one thing, well, the two things that I mentioned so far. The flipper tab here, either make it stand steeper up or make it a little bit taller so that it's easier to get every time. And this choil here, maybe, you know, cut it back so that this flipper tab doesn't have that extra top part. Just if they brought it straight back to that other point, knocked off that little corner right there, that would make it a, you know, more comfortable, safe choil, or just make it bigger. But those are two very minor things. The third thing, yes, a better pocket clip would be nice. I'd like it to have its own pocket clip. It's time now to do the teardown. And after that, we'll go over all the dimensions. We've got a nice D-shaped pivot pin, nice D-shaped hole right in there. A little bit of oil residue on there, that's fine. We've got lots of skeletonizing even on this side, and of course on this side as well. We've got nice ceramic ball bearings, so that's well done. Detent ramp on here, as you usually see on TwoSun knives. Good high quality screws with the nice flat tops. It's not button screws except for on the pocket clip. And so, you know, those screws look good. They look really good. By the way, these pins here have got these sleeves on them, which kind of unusual to have a separate sleeve, but that creates, the shoulder on there so that the other liner sits against the shoulder of this sleeve. So you can't really get rid of these sleeves if you want it to hold together properly. But very simply made and well made. It's time to do all the specs and all that stuff. The weight of this knife, 127 grams. That's 4.48 ounces. Sharpness from the factory, simply stunning. It was 60 best. That's very, very sharp from the factory. Grind angles, we'll see in a minute. They're okay. Cutting edge length on this knife, 90.4 millimeters. That's 3.56 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 90.9 millimeters, 3.58 inches. The thickness of the blade steel, 3.64 millimeters, 0.143 of an inch, so well over an eighth of an inch. Blade depth, the widest point is right where my fingers are there, 29.6 millimeters, 1.17 inches. The thickness behind the grind, measured in 3 places, averaged out 0.51 millimeters, 20 thousandths of an inch. I don't like it any thicker than that. Every time you sharpen this knife, it's getting thicker behind the grind. So you either have to take off the whole side of the bevel, or you just have to end up with a thicker and thicker and thicker edge. So 20 thou is my limit of what's acceptable, so it's right on that border. Grind angles. So this side's got an average grind angle across the length of it, 21.8 degrees. This thing's got an average of 19.3 degrees. This side was sharpened better. 19.6 here at the heel, 19.1 at the tip. That's half a degree of change along the length. This side, not so much. It started at 19.4 degrees at the tip, but went to 24.2 degrees down here. That's 4.8 degrees of change along the length. That's a lot. Of course, the first time I sharpen it, I'm going to keep it consistent and get the same grind angle along the length of the knife. On to the rest of the measurements concerning the handle. The handle length, 122.9 millimeters, which is 4.84 inches. The grip area, 9.5 centimeters, about 3 3/4 inches, plus the forward choil if you want to use that. The handle thickness on the surface of the G10, 14.8 millimeters, 0.584 of an inch. The handle depth within the grip area, the widest point is right here by the index finger, 21.1 millimeters, 0.83 of an inch. When the knife is closed, the widest point is not here. It's right there. 31.8 millimeters, 1.25 inches. And the total length of this knife, it's about 224 millimeters, which is 8.82 inches. Yeah, it's a full-size knife. That's the specs. The price again, $59.99. Take off 10%, $53.99, about 74 Canadian dollars. If you buy this, if you're a Canadian and you buy this, if it gets inspected at the border, it'll get confiscated. So that's just the way it works. Unfortunately, there's no stores in Canada that sell this model. Of course, there's loads of stores that sell the equivalent knife in terms of, a flipper knife with a liner lock, forward choils. Similar mechanically in every way, you can find in Canadian stores all day long. It's just that the Canadian government doesn't want individuals to get these knives in their cupboards or shelves or display cases or whatever, but they're totally fine with the stores having them on their shelves and charging an arm and a leg for the same thing that you can buy much cheaper in the United States. Seems to me it's just a tax grab, really, by the government, or mainly. Anyhow, my overview of this knife, I like it. I really like this knife. It's a little bit funky with those orange circles, nothing overly dramatic. Functionally, it's pretty good. Comfortable, yeah, it's very comfortable. Toughness, strength, yeah, it's very durable, well made, nice blade. Could be a tiny bit thinner. The flipper tab could be a little bit straighter. Forward choil could be a little bit bigger, but those are really minor, nitpicky kind of things. I like it. I like it quite a lot. A huge shout out and thank you to my financial supporters. Again, I really appreciate your help. If you want to support the channel, please consider doing that. If you appreciate these in-depth reviews that I give you. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.